Hi everybody and welcome to my Unruly Housewife channel. Today I'm going to do the much awaited tutorial on how to make this, the Chinese ancient artifact. I showed this a while ago when I was showing you Debbie Bulford's cutter collections, and I just thought it was part of the fun, but a lot of people said, oh, show us how you made it, show us how you made it. So that's what I'm going to do, but it's going to be quite complicated and I'm going to whip through it, so maybe not for beginners. Alright, so first of all, let's look at the cutter set that I used. And as I said, it's by Debbie Bulford, www.debbiebulforddesigns.co.uk, but Debbie ships all over the world. And this set is called Shape Cutters number 4 Sections. And these are the cutters, except for this one. Okay, I have a confession to make. I was using these the other day. I turned my back for 2 minutes and the original Debbie Bulford cutter had completely disappeared. I have no idea where it went. I've been crawling around my floor with a torch, can't find it. Debbie's original cutters, they cut both ways. They've got brilliant seams that don't show when you're using them, and they're fantastic. This one is a substitute. It's got a seam that shows. It's not as good, but what are you going to do? I had to use it to do the tutorial. So sorry to Debbie there, and remember, if you buy Debbie's cutters, they will not have big, huge seams on them. Right, let's get these out of the way, and I'll get on with what I'm doing. So we have here 2 layers of black clay rolled through the pasta machine at number 1, and then I've put them together. I've rolled out the air bubbles and stuff like that, and they are going to form the back of our Chinese artifact, like that. The front's a little bit more shallow. I've used that depth because of these beads that I've got. Now I don't have the original beads that I put on the side there that are quite slim. So I've used these beads, and that means my clay has to be quite fat, because later on when I put the beads on wires, I'm going to sit them down into the clay pieces. So trust me, it needs to be a little bit more than halfway up that bead. First, what I'm going to do is add some texture to the back, and I'm just going to spritz this sheet. I can't tell you where to buy it because it cost me 30p second hand. I'll put that over my clay and give it, with the nice, you know, the rough side down, and give it a really good press with, I'm doing the end of my acrylic rolling pin. Now I want this to be really nice and deep, because when I press my wires into my clay, they're going to potentially, you know, flatten the back a little. So if I can make this nice and deep, I get it ahead of the game. Right, let's see how we've done. Okay, that's fine. So now come my cutters, and I've got this on paper because I don't want this to distort too much, and I feel when I'm peeling off a tile after, I feel when I'm peeling it off a tile after all that pressing, it's going to distort, so it's better to have it on paper. It's the first bit. Still having to do it a bit. It's extremely hot in England today, and we don't have air conditioning in most houses, and of course I don't want the window open because I'm filming. So there are my pieces, and I'm going to put these now on a piece of squared paper, and I'm going to flip them over. Now, what I do to make mine work is to put my circular one in the middle of some squares, kind of like this, and then arrange these around it in a way that looks attractive. And what I will do is squash it in a little, move it down a little, and I want to accommodate my side beads, because they are the complicated ones. And once I've done that, I can add in these little sort of hippie, differently sized love beads and make them work with the space that I have left. So that's what I'm going to do. And what I'm going to do now, and this is where I'm jumping slightly, is I'm going to show you the one that I've just that I've made earlier. Actually, there are two examples. There's this one and this one. So, first example, when I made my original artifact, I used findings, just eye pins. And when I tried to do this tutorial at first, I was going to use eye pins, but look how complicated that is. It's something that I did for myself. It wasn't something that I was going to try and teach other people. So you can use eye pins and arrange them like that, but it is a little bit of a faff. Because the eye pins were so difficult, I decided to use wire so that I could have a line that goes right through my artifact. And for this, I bought this wire, which is 0.8 of a 0.8 millimeters. It's 20 gauge basically. And I have these nylon tipped pliers, so I could get a length and just keep pulling it through the pliers until it was straightened. So as you can see, I first of all arranged my pieces how I wanted them, with greater emphasis on the side beads because they're the difficult bit. I then fed in these little beads here, put everything together, shaped it with my fingers until it looked good. You know, you can really play with the clay. The clay is going to do what you tell it in this instance, I've decided. I took this off and baked it, and then reassembled it and super glued this into the slot because I hadn't pushed it down far. If I did it again, I would push it in quite deep like I have with these, but of course you have the depth of the beads preventing it from going too far. So it's a little bit technical and you might have to redo it or practice it, but eventually you will get it how you want it. And I decided with the super glue, this is all going to be covered up, so that's good enough for me. And so you see the beads are almost level, well they are level with the back that side, and the other side they're sticking out a bit because I've got the red to go on top. Does that make any sense? And of course, you know, you can use beads that they don't have to look like this. It doesn't have to look Chinese. I'm going to probably make that into a kind of a space one. Also, what I did that was extra with this one was I carried it on beyond the bottom so that I can make a little hanging piece to dangle off the bottom of the thing. Sorry, I'm getting my hand in there making a shadow. So, when you get this far, you can bake it in the oven. The beads must be glass. These must be like metal. And you can bake it in the oven with or without the middle bit, and then assemble it. Make sure it's all nice and safe. Super glue, a little dab of super glue, and put these all in is going to be great. These probably won't need it actually, they're really embedded. And then we will go on to section 2 and put the red on. Here I am back with my red clay, and it's such a hot day today. I actually popped it in the fridge for a little while after I'd cut it out, just to make it more, well, less impulsive, less unpredictable. When I put my red clay on, or whatever colour I'm going to use on the front, I need something to bind it to this previously baked clay, which I baked according to manufacturer's instructions, by the way, in case you're wondering. And so I'm using a little bit of liquid fimo. Now I've using liquid fimo because I used to use fimo clay all the time. I'm using Sculpey at the moment, and I've noticed the liquid fimo leaving a little bit of a white residue sometimes on the edges. Now I don't know quite what's going on there, but if you get any little marks or residue or things on your black clay, I just got some black acrylic paint and covered it up, just little dots. You know, there's always little dings, aren't there, little weird bits. Black acrylic paint, let it dry, and that solved it. So now I put on my red pieces. Now you could take a sheet of red clay, decorate it in the manner that you want it decorated, and then cut out the shapes and apply them to your Artefact, and that's probably a better way to do it than what I'm about to do. But I kind of like to put my decoration on with the red clay in place so that I can get a really good idea of how it all looks. So it's a personal choice, and I'm taking the difficult option, which is no surprise to anyone. So once your top layer is on, if you want the effect that I've got there, you can add your gold leaf, and I use flakes, and I'll show you them right away. Now I'm using Mega Flakes by Indigo Blue. I'm using Winter Dawn, but I mean I didn't really necessarily choose that for this project so much as I just already had it, because really I want the gold bits out of it. So I'm going to use a toothpick and this little thing here to choose the bits of colour that I want and bring them out. And I love these kind of variegated colours. I flatten this out and I'm going to choose some of this, and I'm just using this to kind of pull it apart and get it how I want it, because I'm making like little jagged bits. So I'll get this how I want it and then put it onto the thing. I'm using my fingers, which I don't think you're supposed to do, so you might want to put a finger stool on or put a little bit of paper over the top and use that. If we could use this to press it down, but I think it's meant to tarnish if you keep putting your fingers all over it. And I'll just carry on like this until I've covered my whole artefact. Now you don't want to sit through that, I'm sure. It'd be mad. Once I've finished, I'll then actually give it a push with this. And the reason I did this was because I was kind of making it look sort of ancient, and I like this. It's a piece of old packaging, but it gives a nice kind of almost a dragony kind of vibe, which I thought went really well with the thing I was making. Let's see if I can show you that. You see that? So now I'm going to go over this whole thing, add the gold to it, and in fact what I'll do is I'll do that, I'll bake it, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. I'm back from the oven, and doesn't that look great? That's brilliant. I love it. I've put some findings on. It's not varnished yet, but that's okay. I'm going to do that soon. I've got new varnish that I'm trying out, so I didn't want to experiment on something until this video was definitely in the bag. I scribbled on those silver things with a bit of gold Sharpie, which probably won't last, but at least made it match the findings for now. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up. You might consider subscribing to my channel, and you will find Unruly Housewife on Facebook and Instagram, and yeah, you might even want to back me on Patreon, you never know. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Bye bye.